Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to All Beer Inside. I'm your not-so-humble host, Carp. Today we are in the Orléans region of Ontario with Marc and Justin from Stray Dog Brewery. Thanks for having us today, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks for coming.
So, gentlemen, what brought you together, and what's the beer story?
Yeah, no, that's always a favorite question of ours. So, turns out, actually, we were, like many good craft beer stories, started off where we were both independently homebrewing. And just fell in love with the hobby, which blossomed into a passion of ours. Now, there's a lot of home brewers where they're just very passionate about what they do, and they usually keep it in their basement or in their garage. We decided to take it to the next level. Yeah. Most of the reason behind that was the beer we were making as homebrewers was pretty good. I mean, we were submitting it to different competitions and they were winning awards. So that kind of told us that, we were sort of on the right track. And then at the same time, we were, both working at non-for-profit organizations, and we enjoyed our jobs, and we had a life of, security and pensions and good pay, but, we weren't in love with it. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And we just kind of felt that, there's got to be more to life. And so if you can find something that you absolutely love to do and turn it into a career, then why not take a chance? And so that's kind of what we did.
No, it was funny too, because Marc and I didn't even know that we lived a couple blocks apart. It was home brewing through like an online brewing community that we ended up actually meeting each other the first time, and then started sharing beers, stuff like that, and here we are today.
Yeah.
And the passion behind it, that's a great way because if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life, right?
Exactly.
So, yeah, it sounds like you very much love what you do. I'm sure there are some pitfalls to it as well, which we'll discuss later. But the fact that you guys just found each other it's a great kind of love story when you think about it, but for beer.
It's a brew-mance.
Yeah, it's a brew. That's amazing. Okay, I love that, brew-mance. So you brought us out some beers today. What's the first one we're trying?
So the first one you're going to try is Jagged Little Pilsner. Mm-hmm. It is a gold medal winning beer. It was at the 2019 Canadian Brewing Awards for European Pilsners. And very, very proud of that one. It's done in the traditional Czech style.
Yeah, nice clean on the nose.
So, our tagline, one of our taglines anyways, but the one that most people know us for is straying from the norm. And so essentially that means, we just basically take a beer style and we mess around with it, do whatever we want with it. But and there's very few beers that we do that are like true to style. This is definitely one of those beers that you don't kind of mess around with it right away off the hop. I think it's funny. A lot of brewers love the beer they make, IPAs, stouts, imperial stouts, and so on. But eventually you got to sort of reset your palate, and there is no better style than a good clean lager. And so we were pretty stoked to be able to pull out this Pilsner.
Yeah, we love drinking stuff like IPAs and stouts, as Marc was saying, but every now and then you like to challenge yourself too, and trying to do something where there's nothing that can hide, clean fermentation, the best ingredients you can use.
Yeah. This is a fantastic beer. Very, very clean with a little faint hint of bitterness, but fantastic beer. I think this is the first time I've had it too, so I'm very impressed.
Sweet.
Yeah, thank you. So what are some roadblocks and difficulties you guys ran into creating the Stray Dog brand?
It's an interesting question because we went at it from a different approach. So, we were home brewers. We've never owned a business before, so that's problem number one. But at the same time, being in Ottawa and seeing how the craft industry sort of started to explode, there was a lot of resources. And one of the things that I used to do part-time was I was one of the original tour guides for BrewDonkey. Okay. And by doing that, we were able to talk to and meet a lot of the brewers and a lot of the owners. And, we're not shy about, asking people, like, what are some of the same question you just asked us? What are some of the pitfalls and mistakes that you made so that we wouldn't repeat the same things? You know what, to be honest with you, it was a pretty sort of successful opening for us. It was, I think we're one of the first microbreweries in this area that were able to open, basically from getting the key to opening the door, one of the quickest ones, which was really cool. And again, very fortunate because we relied on a lot of people. But of course, now we're entering into our third year. Yeah, there's always the small little issues that you face by owning a small business, whether it's from the HR side of things or operational side, finding efficiencies. What else?
Yeah. I mean, I think, some of the issues we dealt with probably is the same as what any other entrepreneur deals with. And the biggest one, I think, is just getting over yourself, your fear, stuff like that, where it's like, yeah, I love what I do as a hobby, trying to turn this into a profession, that scares the scares the heck out of me, where it's expensive. We had to go to the banks. We took out some big loans. Then we went to Business Development Canada, took out some even bigger loans, and you worry,
for sure.
And but once you commit, you got to be all in. And
got to pull that trigger and get it over with.
Yeah. So it's basically just kind of getting over that kind of fear and realizing that, if you try hard and you're good at what you do, you will succeed. And I think just a lot of people don't have enough confidence in themselves to actually kind of proceed with turning their dream into a reality.
Yeah, I don't think when we were putting together our business plan and discussing, this place, failure was never on the table. It wasn't an option for us. And so, like Justin said, if you 100% believe that you're going to be successful, there's a very good chance you will. So,
why'd you guys come up with Stray Dog Brewing? Where does that come from?
Well, it's supposed to be kind of symbolic. I mean, we all are actually dog owners, but that's not really, doesn't really come into play too much. The idea is that a stray dog is something that used to have a home. It had the security of being a kept dog where it's chained up, but it's always just trying to kind of break free of that leash. And, so we consider ourselves kind of like stray dogs where we broke free of the things that were holding us back.
Awesome.
Even if they were self-imposed type things.
Cool. That's a great original name too. It's very unique. And when I came here last time, there was a couple of, I think, boxers.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And I'm just like, I'm going to sit here, drink a beer, and pet a dog. That's not mine.
Yeah.
So
you could do that guaranteed every Friday for sure, but almost any day of the week.
The names and labels of the beers, where do you guys come up with those?
It's funny. Some of the beers, the names, we come up with the name before the beer. And sometimes it's the beer first. We're going to try this style and then we'll brainstorm. And it depends, right? I mean, sometimes the name has popped up first. For an example, one that's not shown here is our blueberry saison called Bleu Nuit, which there'll be some people there's absolutely no recognition of that name, and then there'll be a certain demographic that are chuckling probably as soon as I said it.
Yeah, most likely people in their 30s to 40s from Quebec.
Yeah, yeah. Same thing with around here, Ottawa, Gatineau represent.
Yeah.
And then, some of these beers just kind of sort of name themselves. And then sometimes we just sort of brainstorm. We'll sit back, we'll have a few beers, and we'll start throwing out some ideas and see which ones stick.
Awesome. And the labeling, who comes up with that?
We have a good friend of ours that when we first opened up, he was looking at some of the stuff we did, and he was like, you know what, I think I could kind of tighten some of this stuff up a little bit. I was like, by all means,
Don't take work for beer and come and do us label.
Yeah, pretty much, So we started telling him some of our thoughts, on for specific beer names. Sometimes we would do like mock drawings, and we're like, I know it looks like, a 4-year-old drew this. Can you make it look like Michelangelo did it? And so, yeah, he does the majority of it. But we also have one of our employees. Her name's Mary. She has a background in graphic design, and she's done some of our beers as well, and she's doing a great job.
Awesome. What's the next beer we're trying here?
Yeah, so I think the next one we're going to do is this one. So that is a California Common. Mm-hmm. It's the first beer that we came out with. It's definitely, if we're going to talk flagship beers, it's certainly one of the ones that people know us for. It's the only one available in the LCBO. It is a recipe that is based on an award-winning homebrew recipe. And the reason why we chose a California Common is because no one else does it on a regular basis. the thinking behind it was, as a brand new brewery coming out, you really want to sort of identify yourself in the market.
Yeah.
And, when new breweries come out, you generally come out with like a blonde, maybe an IPA, cream ale, and so on. It's boring. You know what I mean? And we didn't want to be like everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
So the California Common was the decision that we made. It was a good one. And again, it's the only one that's brewed on a regular basis in Ontario.
I like this. It's got that right level of maltiness I really like, but it's clean at the same time. This is another fantastic beer. I think I picked up a couple from the LCBO because I've always wondered why only this one at the LCBO, why not the entire line, or is it just more demand here than you find at the LCBO? Or?
Yeah, it's honestly, it's a business decision.
Yep.
There's every brewery has their own business philosophy. Some will go with a shotgun approach, where they'll try to get as many SKUs into the LCBO as possible, and that's fine if you have the capacity and a whole lot of money and a thick skin. Then yeah, go for it. But I think the trend is really, and this is one of the things that we focused from the beginning, was drive traffic to the brewery. It's great that you can go into the LCBO and see 200-300 different types of beer. But frankly, I mean, look at all those cans and then ask yourself, how many of those breweries have you visited or even want to visit? There's something to be said about knowing where the beer is made, meeting the owners, seeing where the beer is made, and then going to that brewery and not only having that one beer, but all the different offerings that they have. That really goes a long way. And so we wanted to definitely have put a face to the name Stray Dog, and going to the LCBO and just seeing a can doesn't necessarily translate into that.
Yeah.
So
the region you picked is kind of semi-residential, semi-industrial. What made you guys decide here?
So we're in the Taylor Creek Business Park, which is off of 174, which is main city highway, and Trim Road, which is the last exit for Orleans. Finding light industrial areas in Orleans is difficult at best. And for zoning purposes, it has to be light industrial. Okay. At least it was when we were looking for space. Yeah. And we looked at several locations. This came up. It's, like I said, the location itself to get here is great. It's becoming more residential. It's not your typical industrial park. There's a lot of different businesses. We're surrounded by a couple of daycares as well and a bowling alley. So yeah, it's a really nice mix, and we're right off where the future of the LRT phase 2 is going to be. Easier access down in the future, but mostly it was opportunity.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, and I mean, we live in Orleans. We wanted to have the brewery in our own neighborhood. And at the time, it was funny because I think that Orleans may have been one of the only areas of Ottawa that didn't have its own brewery, too. So we were the first brewery here in Orleans. Now there's 3, all great breweries as well. So it's becoming more of a destination. But it's nice. Like, we both live 5-10 minutes away from here. So it's super cool.
That's awesome. Your first home brews that you made, which ones were they? Should you recall?
So like
the first beer you ever brewed. Good, bad, mediocre, whatever it was.
The very first batch that I ever made was an extract batch that was a Hefeweizen, which is funny because I never drink Hefeweizen anymore, but I just kind of liked wheat beers back then. It turned out okay. It was a little bit dark for a Hef, a little higher in alcohol, and but it still had some of that nice banana character.
Mine was an extract as well. Right on the stovetop. It was a brown ale, and it wasn't bad. I mean, looking back now, it probably wasn't the greatest, but at the same time, I had it ready for Christmas time, and we had a bunch of people over, and what was really sort of eye-opening was they drank it, and they actually enjoyed it, and they said, wow, you made this? And that's all you need is a little fuel to stoke the fire,
right?
That's
a nice little kick in the butt to, like, maybe I can be a little more serious about this to get that kind of compliment, which is great. What's the next beer I'm trying here?
Yeah, so I think we're going to go with the Shaggin Wagon. So Shaggin Wagon is a New England style IPA. It's our flagship NEPA. And it's, again, just like this one, it's one that a lot of people know us for. Again, we're huge fans of IPAs. Our IPA influence comes from the New England states, mostly in Vermont. And we do like the haze, but not the bitterness. And we're also big fans of the movie Dumb and Dumber.
Yeah. The nose on this is fantastic. It's nice and juicy too. It's faint bitterness. Like you barely get it. This is actually one of the better New England IPAs I've had in the Ottawa region for me.
Nice.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, it's one of those. It's our hazy mainstay, and it's a crushable 6.4, which is pretty scary.
Yeah,
it's funny because when people come in, they say, "I don't like IPAs," and then we put this in front of them. You can sort of see the light bulb go off and say, "Wow, I didn't realize that IPAs could be like this." And it really, it can kind of turn people, in a good way.
Yeah, I destroyed that thing. And at 6.4, that could be problematic if you've had a few in a row and you're just like, hey, I was meant to have 6 beers tonight, but 3 is good enough. Time for bed.
Yeah.
No, that's a really good beer. I think that's one of your beers I rated highest because I'm an Untappd fanatic for some reason. And this is probably your highest rated one out of my Untappd selection. I never tried the Jagged Little Pills before. This is new to me, so I'll have to rate that later on.
Cool.
But do you find Untappd at all helps for you guys? Or
Yeah, it's kind of, I think it's a little bit of a necessary evil too, but it's one of those things that anybody with a phone or internet connection can, help or, kind of crap on your brewery at the same time. You have some people that are very generous with their ratings and they're sharing their love for certain beer styles or what you do with other people. So it does help to bring people in, but at the same time, it's funny, like we put a lot of effort, heart, all that stuff into what we brew. And, you have somebody go on there and be like, this beer sucks, and then you look at what they do like, and it's something completely opposite to what the style is.
Yeah. That's the way I look at it. Is you got to be fair. If I'm not into Hefeweizens this month, let's say, and I had to drink a Hefeweizen, I'm like, I don't like it right now. I should be a little more lenient for the style because just because I don't like it right now doesn't mean I should crap on it necessarily. I try to be fair to every beer. My beer style changes from week to week. Some weeks I'm like, oh, I just want sours. I want sours. Super Bowl with the guys this past couple of weeks. Oh, I want lagers. I want nice and clean, crushable. This is what I want. So. Yeah. To me, you shouldn't crap on a style if you don't like it. Just say like, no rating, not my style. To be fair, but I'm a little more trepidatious of what I say. So
yeah, I've made it a rule for myself. I have a love-hate relationship for Untappd. I use it to track, and I'm not even that religious about it anymore. If I did, I'd probably be in the 500 club or something, and then I'd realize I was severe alcoholic.
Yeah, I shouldn't say anything then.
Yeah, but I've made it a rule now where I don't rate any beers at all, and but I do put the effort into writing my own thoughts. But now they've condensed it, I think, where you can only put, I don't know, like maybe 140 characters. So it really limits how much information you can put in. And again, because taste is very subjective.
Yes.
And so, we've seen ratings for us, like, having like the Shaggin Wagon and giving it a 2 and then saying, I don't like IPAs.
Yeah, I know. It's
like, why would you rate it anyways?
Yeah. Or even why try it in the first place? If you see it's a New England IPA and you're not into IPAs, don't try it.
Yeah. I mean, if you're a vegetarian, don't crap on a steak.
Yeah,
you know
exactly.
what I mean?
So.
I don't know. And sometimes, too, it reminds me a little bit of something like Pogs or whatever, where it's like, I must collect all of them.
So,
so
mine is, it's my beer Pokemon.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Pogs is that's a
that's pulling something from the 90s. Yeah. So you mentioned you're at 500. I'm at over 3,500 check-ins. I go to beer festivals. Oh, here's a new beer. Oh, I've never tried this beer. Oh, I like this beer.
I will add, though, we are a verified venue on Untappd.
Perfect.
So, it's good for push notifications when we release something, and we're getting a lot better at updating Untappd. So for those of you
for those who are on Untappd, you can have your beer menu. So it's like, oh, these are available this week, and then these are brewing right now. Collabs, have you guys done any?
Yeah, we've done 2 so far. One of them was with Flora Hall. Have you guys had any beers from them yet?
I cannot say we have.
Yeah, so they've got an awesome location, great brewery, great people too. We've become really good friends with them. So we did a 0 IBU beer with them.
Okay.
Yeah. So we went down there one day. We brewed the beer there. Then the next day they came here and we brewed the exact same batch. And we put them out on the same day so people could go to each place, compare them, that kind of thing, which that beer turned out awesome.
Yeah, loved it.
and the other one was with a coffee company, a local one called Happy Goat. So we did around Christmas time, we try to come out with kind of like a Christmassy kind of seasonal dessert style beer. So we did a milk stout that we added organic cacao nibs to, along with some cold steeped coffee.
Okay.
Yeah, and that was called Mugshot.
Any collabs you'd consider coming up? Local, outside the province?
It's hard to say. I mean, everybody kind of wants to do collaborations, but it's like any sort of marriage or relationship you're going to get into, right? It's got to complement each other, and to get along, I guess you got to share the same values and visions. So it all depends. I mean, right now we're just concentrating on being kind of the best Stray Dog Brewing we can be. So, considering collaborations is a lot of work. So, yeah, for now, I think we're just going to really concentrate and see what happens along the way.
Because you'd mentioned pre-recording that you're heading down to Vermont. If you could hit one of your favorite breweries in Vermont and be like, hey, let's make a beer together.
Oh, dude, I don't think we turned that down at all. Yeah. But who knows what the future's going to hold.
Awesome. Beer vacations. I know you guys are busy, but should you have the time, what's a beer vacation you've never been to that you want to go to?
For me, it's the Czech Republic.
We hear that a lot.
Yeah.
Yourself?
Yeah, maybe somewhere in Belgium. Check out what the monks have done. I mean,
that's what I want to do too.
Yeah. I mean, I've got to check quite a few of them off the box so far. My wife and I honeymooned at Oktoberfest in Munich as well.
Okay, I want to go. How was it?
It was awesome, but at the same time, it was like, I mean, we were only there for 3 days, and then we moved along, and that was like 2 days too long.
Okay.
No, I'm just kidding. But no, after like 3 days,
yeah.
I mean, you're having a liter of beer for breakfast. Before you even had a chance to get any schnitzel in your stomach, anything like that. So,
all right, I'm going to keep that in mind. Should I go this year? Yeah. Oktoberfest is one of mine. Belgium as well. I keep hearing South Africa apparently has an amazing beer scene right now. There's an actual documentary on Amazon Prime called "Brewing the Republic" that it's Johannesburg and Cape Town. Yeah, the beer scene's just exploded there.
Yeah, it's funny. I saw that on a recent thread as well, where there's another local brewer who's actually sourced our equipment through him as well, and he did mention he's exploring exporting to Africa. And I'm reading it, going like, really? That's so wild. But I guess it's just one of those new sort of destinations. That I heard China too. Is the craft beer scene there is ridiculous because. Well, there's opportunity, right?
Yeah, and there's 1 billion people, which also helps.
Exactly. So, yeah, that definitely helps in sales.
On the wall, I asked you before, you said it's your Chug Club?
Nope. Good name, though.
Okay.
No, it's called our...
patent pending, that's mine.
It's called our Pounders Club.
Okay.
Yeah, and so the idea behind that was, again, when you're starting a brand new business, one of the things that, is always a struggle is that working capital. And the other thing too is we're very community focused, and we wanted to give people of Orléans and friends and family as well from afar an opportunity to be a part of the business without actually investing a whole lot of money. And so we offered up the Pounders Club. It was 150 memberships, and everybody paid a certain amount. You're a member for life, and so with that you got benefits throughout your tenure, as long as you're on this earth, you're a proud Pounders member. And it's great because they're also some of our biggest supporters, which is really cool. And so what we've done is highlight who they are on our wall in the brewery. So when people come in, people like yourself say, what is that? Yeah. And it's pretty cool.
Yeah. Awesome. It's almost, when you think about it, it's like Kickstarter. So
it is almost exactly like that.
Caveman Kickstarter.
There you go.
And not every brewery, but a lot of breweries have their own versions, right? Mug clubs, founders clubs, and whatever. So, we're not any different in that respect.
What's the last beer I'm trying today?
That would be Jeanne D'arc. Okay. So that is our Oatmeal Stout. It's our winter seasonal. The name Jeanne D'arc is a fun one. That's it's one of the ones I think we're pretty proud of too, because it's multifaceted, right? So Jeanne D'arc is one of the main boulevards that run through Orleans, and it's French, but in English it's Joan of Arc. And if you do a little deep dive on Joan of Arc, she was actually known as the Maiden of Orléans.
Okay.
And that's where we live. So, yeah.
Awesome. On the back, I see you have little stories too. So is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Our backgrounds is public relations, communications. And so for a big part of our adult lives, we were writers.
Okay.
And sometimes creatively. And when you have your own business, there's nobody really kind of redlining your remarks. And so you can actually have a lot of fun with this. And that's, that's the part of craft beer too that we enjoy is the fun in it. And so we take a lot of pride in writing the description of the beer or where it comes from and just have a little bit of fun with it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, this is a great beer. I get a little bit of coffee. Is that?
Yeah, there's no coffee in there, but just a lot of dark grains that kind of give that impression of either dark chocolate or roasty coffee.
Yeah, for at first it tastes like coffee, but mentioning it more of the dark malts in the end, really.
Yeah.
I usually ask this: if you could go outside of, if the provincial beer lines were dropped, would you guys be, hey, let's bring our beers up to Gatineau, let's bring our beers out to Manitoba?
Yeah, it's a no-brainer. I mean, the big frustration I think for us is the one thing that separates us from Gatineau is a river. And that's about it, really. It would be easier for us to deliver to places in Gatineau than it is 4 hours down the 401 to Toronto. Yeah. And yet we've got a few accounts in Toronto. It would just be a no-brainer for sure. So it is frustrating. And maybe down the road things will change. I know from a federal level they've dropped any of those sort of barriers that were there, but it's each individual province because each one of them is governed by their own liquor control board that puts these invisible barriers up.
Yeah,
it sucks.
It does suck because I was in Jersey with my dad for football, and then I came back and there's this place in Saratoga Springs, and it's a literal warehouse of beer across America. And I'm sure I could have spent like $2,000 there in one shot, but you can only bring so many back. So it's I'd love to see that type of situation in every province, every major city like Ottawa, Montreal, Toronto, Quebec City even, where you just have that warehouse of beers. Even kegs. Have kegs available. So, time for a party. Grab keg.
Start a movement. Yeah. Hashtag free the beer.
Yeah, we got to. That's it. Hashtag free the beer.
Trademark.
Yeah. Okay. What's next for Stray Dog?
Well, I mean, the biggest thing for us actually is just paying down our loans. But we're heading in that. I mean, we're paying those off. We are going to get to a point probably where there's not much more we can do here. I mean, we've got a little bit of space left in the back where we could bring in an extra tank or two. We want to make sure that we always want to be in Orleans Brewery. So if we can either find a second location down the road or expand where we are here, I think we'd love to do that. I mean, right now we're just trying to focus mostly on the beer and our employees, trying to make sure that they get enough time to, grow here as well too.
Yeah, I mean, we're entering in our third year, which for small business is kind of that tipping point. And, I think that's good for us. I think in dog years, it's 21 years. So if sometimes it feels like we've been here forever, and then some days it feels like we just opened the doors, right? I mentioned we had some accounts in Toronto, but at the same time, I mean, we still have people in Orleans that are discovering us. And that goes for Greater Ottawa. So there's a lot of opportunity there, and it's incumbent on us to get the word out and to give people a great opportunity and, just give them a reason to come here and visit us and to try our beer.
Yeah,
for sure. Awesome. I have no other questions for you guys this time, so let everybody know how they can find you.
Our website, straydogbrewing.ca. Highly encourage you to follow us on Facebook. That's where and Instagram and Twitter. It's a necessary evil there too.
Everything's
and Untappd.
So everything's at Stray Dog Brewing.
Yep, pretty much.
Perfect.
Yeah, you just Google Stray Dog Brewing, all those things will come up. So
awesome. So we're gonna add all that in the show notes. As for us, you can always find us at All Beer Inside everywhere on social media, allbeerinside.com. And as I say at the end, drink craft, not crap. Thank you guys. Very much appreciate it.
Pleasure. Thanks, guys.